I don't respect any black man with a white woman trying to come at me and tell me what I'm saying is wrong. Be quiet. It's just like me. As soon as I get me a white woman, I'd stop talking about black women. I wouldn't have nothing else to say. As soon as I decide a white woman's my best option, I would stop talking about black women. I would have nothing else to say. I would not make another video talking about something, and you black women need to... Shut up. You got a white woman, go somewhere and be happy.
What if the biggest drama queen you ever saw was actually a guy? Someone who would say anything just to get attention. Someone whose entire life was a highlight reel of one contradiction after another because everything they say is made up off the top of their heads. We all know one, and the epitome of this is Tommy Sotomayor. I'm not a person who deals in drama. For a time I had been a caller into the Tommy Sotomayor show, but I eventually had to leave because there was entirely too much chaos and melodrama. Not from the audience, but from the host himself. The truth is that there were simply too many things in 2013 that didn't add up, and I was no longer comfortable being so closely associated with someone whom it was clear was quickly being revealed as a chronic liar and an outright fraud. During the spring to summer of 2013, Tommy took his infamous road trip from Atlanta to California, where he concocted this preposterous fairy tale that he was going to be getting his own TV show on TV One, produced by something called Mad Dog Studios. Remember that one? The only problem with this shockingly unbelievable story is that it couldn't happen. Oh, there's a Mad Dog Studios, all right, and it's in California near where Tommy was. But it's a music studio, not a TV studio. And as you can see, they certainly have nothing to do with an Afrocentric network like TV One. We know this is the right Mad Dog Studios because Yellow Pages shows it's the only one in the entire state of California. So how did Tommy know about them? In Google Street View, you can see that the name of the business is clearly visible from the street. Anyone driving by can see it. When you look up the directions, you'll see it's a straight shot, only 5 miles from Mad Dog to Universal Studios Park. We know Tommy's in the area at the time because on July 21st, he put up a video claiming he was at Universal Studios with someone he says is a TV One producer named Mr. Winton. But when you try to look this man up at TV One, you can't find him. A few months later, on October 14th, at the last minute, Tommy announces that his TV One show was going to air that night. But curiously, he says he's nowhere near a television at the time. And predictably, he never shows up during the entire program. It was the season debut of Celebrity Crime Files, but Tommy even gets the name of the show wrong. This episode was talking to the Winans family about Michael Winans' Ponzi scheme. But if Tommy was hosting it, he never tells us why TV One would bring him out to California when CeCe Winans lives in Tennessee and Michael Winans was convicted in Detroit. To this day, Tommy has never produced a single email or text message from anyone, including the mysterious Mr. Winton, to substantiate that he was ever associated with TV One in any way. When he arrived in California, he met a Russian woman named Svetlana. He spent a lot of time since then talking about how much better than black women she is, while at the same time saying she's down to do any sex act you can name. He keeps talking like he's really accomplished something special, but when you take a closer look into Miss Lana, you'll find a man shouldn't brag about how sexually open-minded his woman is when she does it for a living. I'll let you all take a look into that one yourselves. At first, Tommy tried to hide his relationship with her by saying she was mixed. Remember that? Then he said she's just his chef, but I was aware there was more to it as far back as September. He didn't come out of the closet with her until around November, only after he had reached his fundraising goal for Fatherless America, the documentary he claims he's been working on, which now has the same suspicious ring to it that his show on TV One did. This event of coming out about Lana is significant because Tommy Sotomayor is only known for one thing: his intense, burning hatred of black women and everything about them. People were willing to previously accept his bare-knuckle criticism of black women, but they were not going to co-sign the idea that black men were all going to become part of an anti-black female cult and believe that our only viable option was an interracial relationship. Right before going out on his road trip, Tommy saw a way to disarm his critics by taking a pro-black turn, and he made a series of videos and radio shows saying you couldn't speak on black issues if you were in an interracial relationship. He made it very clear on many occasions what he thought of black men in interracial relationships speaking on black issues.
Number one, and this one you should have seen it coming. The number one reason why you can't be pro-black. Number one reason you can't be pro-black is if you are married to or dating or fucking or a mistress to a white person. I'm sick of y'all niggas running around talking about some of these black women ain't shit and you got a white woman. Shut the fuck up. Nobody wants to hear from you now. Your opinion is rendered moot. You can't say nothing else, nigga. Go back to your white girl. Lay up under her. You've got what you want. Why you still complaining about somebody else? If you're gonna complain about a black woman and what a black woman don't do, nigga, get you one and make her an honest woman. I'm sick of y'all niggas talking about these black women ain't shit. I'm pro-black. Go to your house and ain't nothing but mulattoes all over the wall. Come on, nigga, you can't say nothing else. Where are you coming from? You can't be pro-black when the motherfucker's convenient. Have you noticed that when your boy Michael Jackson got on TV talking about some this how they do us black folks, I was looking around to see who the he was talking about. Who, Mike? Who? You cannot be pro-black when you are dating somebody outside of your race. You are now a race trader. You can have fun with them. You can send some money to the cause. But like Malcolm X said, but you cannot be down with it. That's how a cause gets infiltrated when you got a motherfucker that says I'm pro-black and I got a white in my mouth. That don't work. That don't work. I don't respect any black man with a white woman trying to come at me and tell me what I'm saying is wrong. Be quiet. It's just like me. As soon as I get me a white woman, I'd stop talking about black women. I wouldn't have nothing else to say. As soon as I decide a white woman's my best option, I would stop talking about black women. I would have nothing else to say. I would not make another video talking about some, and you black women need to, shut up. You got a white woman, go somewhere and be happy. This is why I'm not a fan of people like Ice-T and study calling them black while they got him a white girlfriend and running around pimping the white girl. Because the one thing you can say about Ice-T, and for all of you black folks who might know his history, he ain't put no black folks on. You might think that Ice-T is black. Ice-T is a half-breed pimp that could get more black than white, and as soon as he can get some white, he dipped out. Same thing that Soledad O'Brien did. As soon as she could get some white, she dipped out, but still gets called black, still gets the black credibility. How does this work, people?
These were the same things I had been saying long before Tommy ever came along, and I continue to say them today. And, when it was convenient, Tommy had no problem repeating my statements that you can't speak on black issues if you date interracially. But by the time he'd returned from California, this had all changed. He was still trying to talk about black women and black people while he was preaching to black men that a white woman was our only viable option.
Because you're a dark-skinned black female with self-esteem issues who thinks that stalking a man online and pretending that you're doing it for a noble reason, just like the guy. So you can say my name as much as you want. You can talk as much about I've been to jail for this and that and the other as much as you want. But you'll still be a dark-skinned, fat female that no one likes anymore. Tell your mother that. Black men, run. Run. Do like I did.
Tommy's ego trip had taken him in a deviant direction that had nothing to do with black people. So at this point, I refused to be associated with his show any longer. I wouldn't post about Tommy again. Tommy's audience, however, was not accepting Tommy's new turn either, and they let him know about it. Every time I would post about the black family, Tommy's people would throw his words back in his face. Even though I wasn't talking about Tommy and never even mentioned him, his audience continued to ask him about how he could still speak on black issues when he wasn't even with a black woman. People began leaving him. Because he saw his audience was reposting what I was saying, he began to blame me for his losses rather than his own lack of integrity. He expected people like me to stop speaking on interracial issues so he would stop catching heat for his hypocrisy. Tommy had deserted his principles, so now he wanted me and everyone else to change our message so that he could sweep it all under the rug. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen. The end of 2013 saw the entire facade that was Tommy Sotomayor fall apart completely. Tommy spent years talking about how everyone who didn't like him was a lame because they didn't have a house as nice as his, and how we'd never hear about him getting put out of the house by his girlfriend. Well, in December, we woke up to see him ranting online about how his producer/girlfriend, Miss Mo, had done just that. She tossed him out and locked the doors. He was reduced to uploading live from the Motel 6 and said that he had nothing but the clothes on his back. I called him privately, like men are supposed to do, to confidentially tell him that it was time to regroup. But Tommy was so blind with envy that he pulled the ultimate act of unmanliness and divulged the conversation to the public out of fear that I was going to steal the rest of his audience from him. If anyone trusts him with a private message again after this, you'd be a fool. He's betrayed the trust of everyone around him out of jealousy and fear. You understand the jealousy. Now, let's take a look at the fear. This is a chart I put together in February this year. I did an analysis of Tommy's 2 biggest channels on YouTube to see if my predictions had panned out, and it was worse than I had imagined. Over the course of last year, since Tommy's road trip, his views on YouTube take a big jump for most of the year, but then suddenly they take a sharp nosedive at the end of 2013. What I did was I made a list cataloging the view counts of his most watched video of each month of the previous 12 months on his Mr. Madness and TNN Raw channels. The evidence is undeniable. His most watched videos of the month at the beginning of 2013 are consistently in the hundreds of thousands or millions of views. But by the end of 2013, his numbers collapse in one calendar month. That month is November, the same month that he brings Lana out of the closet. People saw the exact same hypocrisy that I did, and they were not overlooking it. Simply put, Tommy's audience has imploded. Don't take my word for it, and certainly don't believe him. Just go to YouTube for yourselves, and you'll see that over the past 6 months, his views have taken a nosedive from where they were consistently between 8 to 12 months ago. During this same period, Tommy saw that my views were either catching up to or exceeding his own. Case in point, I announced I'd be putting out a video critical of Nicki Minaj for defaming the image of Malcolm X. That same day, Tommy tried to intercept me by putting out a hastily made video trying to do the same thing with another female rapper, Lil' Kim. To date, my video has gotten over 43,000 views. Tommy's attempt? Not so much. Tommy now blames me because his audience has evaporated instead of his own lack of character. So now he's sunk into a new low and is betraying even the advice that he gives people every day to not stalk other people online.
Because no grown heterosexual black man would keep talking about another man over and over and over and over and be mad because the nigga is not his damn, he won't let him comment on his stuff no more.
But this too is just for attention. Tommy isn't just blind with jealousy. He's following the numbers. He's found a bunch of people moving toward a new person, and since that person won't communicate with him anymore, he's now decided he'll try to force a conversation by starting an online beef. When I refused to engage Tommy in such childishness, he then sank to an all-time low and just began going online outright making things up that are so easy to debunk it's bizarre he would even say them. He said on a recent show that I had had a page up asking for donations, but when you ask him when and where the alleged page is, he can't tell you. He also can't find anyone who donated to it. Just like his TV One show, it's a phantom that only he has seen. But he's not afraid to tell people he's seen it, just so long as they're dumb enough not to ask for proof. He told people that I didn't help him with his documentary, even though I availed him to my cinematographer, Quentin Adams. He never called Quentin, and Quentin can verify this. Also, I gave him an equipment list that he actually made purchases from. I guess he forgot that email can't be faked, and even though he now wishes I didn't offer him the resources that I did, he can't lie about what's already happened. And in case you hadn't noticed, he said he'd start filming this documentary at the end of January. But so far, since he got the nearly $40,000 in contributions, he's seen Lana 2 times, but has yet to show a single second of footage from his supposed documentary. Just more empty promises that he's meeting big people for big things without a shred of proof that he's actually getting anything done. And now his documentary is starting to have the same feel to it that his mythical trip to TV One did. And I guess now Tommy feels he has nothing to lose, so he might as well go for broke and see if he can play Black Klansman one day and pro-black the next and see who's dumb enough to fall for it. The man who made a career out of insulting, mocking, and outright ridiculing dark-skinned black females now thinks that nobody remembers he's the poster child for hating dark-skinned black women. He said this just last week.
There are 3 generations of black women in this video, and what this shows you is why the majority of people with any sense, the majority of any man who has something going for himself will never, ever, ever talk to a dark-skinned black woman. Sorry. Because there's drama affiliated with the majority of them. See, there's some very good ones, but I would never look through a trash can to find a steak. Because even if you find a steak in that trash can, it's been tainted by the trash. And the majority of dark-skinned black women have been tainted by the trash that surrounds them.
So after all this time, how does Tommy think we're going to fall for him trying to pretend he's going to defend dark-skinned females now? He's got a lot of explaining to do. He made a video lying, saying that I had, quote, cussed this girl out.
In his show, he cussed out every man and woman who would not agree with what he was saying. And please, guys, understand, she didn't cuss him. She didn't cuss Melissa. She didn't cuss any of them.
First off, his own video shows that he's blatantly lying. Not one curse word in there except from him. Another pitiful attempt at tearing down someone he sees as overshadowing him. And in case anyone was so gullible that they didn't know she was a plant set up by Tommy, take a look at the way she talks to people on another page who were merely commenting. You can see how polite and ladylike she is here. No wonder Tommy likes her so much. She sounds just like him. Big coincidence, right? And she's not even 21 yet. However, just like anything else with Tommy, you have to look beneath the surface. Did you hear what he said there?
I have a friend and her name is Shavuzo. She's a 19-year-old girl. 19. A 19-year-old college student. A 19-year-old college student, no children. A 19-year-old dark-skinned female with natural hair. Now, I'm not going to say she's a 10 or say she's a 1. And what this shows you is why the majority of people with any sense, the majority of any man who has something going for himself will never, ever, ever talk to a dark-skinned black woman.
Now, this female is a teenager, 19 years old. Tommy is a 38-year-old man. Now, if you feel it's more than just a little creepy that an adult man nearly 40 years old is calling himself friends with a teenage girl, you got the right idea. I can't see any man other than R. Kelly being comfortable saying he's friends with a teenage girl. What does a middle-aged man have in common with a teen girl? For him to be this emotional about a teenage girl, it's starting to look like there's more going on here than meets the eye. And he still proudly brags that dark-skinned black women are all trash, or at best covered in trash. Like most con men, he really does believe he's so smart that people will just accept anything he says, even if he contradicts what he's been saying for years. Even if it contradicts what he told you this morning. And that's why these lies and his contradicting himself matter. If you want to know why a black man who's obsessive about dating white women is so treacherous, it's because it tends to change them. All of a sudden they go from being consistently black to being a black redneck. Dave Chappelle once did a skit called The Black Ku Klux Klansman. Since he began dating Lana, Tommy now sounds like Chappelle's character. But what you're about to hear is no joke. Even though Tommy has been harassing me for weeks, name-calling and cursing at me on various websites, I've kept the high ground. But listen to how Tommy feels about black people who do the same thing to Lana.
If I was Lana, I wouldn't be able to stand niggers. I would call every one of y'all niggers. And she actually said to me one day, this is why a lot of people cannot stand your people. How much they have been f***ing with her. She said, I've never felt this way about black people until now. These were her words. And I told her, I understand. Because they're f***ing with you and you've done nothing. Because they're f***ing with you and you've done nothing. That's why when she said she's going to play the white victim, I told her, please play it. I hope she gets every one of those niggers put in jail. I hope every one of the niggers go to jail.
How exactly does your girlfriend's whiteness make anyone who doesn't like her niggers? This is plantation talk. When a person starts taking on the behavior and vocabulary of white supremacy, that person is trying to send you a message. He thinks he now has a trump card over other black people just because he's with a white woman. When a person starts seeing white racism as their friend, that means they see themselves as part of the white racist structure. For those of you who were silly enough to think his attacks on me were motivated by some kind of affection for black people, maybe you should have asked him what he thinks about the black community and being a part of it before you jumped on his bandwagon.
No, all you're doing is trolling. Exactly. You're trolling for free. Right. Wait a minute. No. What you're doing is trolling for free because my answers to your questions have been sufficient.
Don't yelling my community or black women.
Oh, well, let me tell you something. Y'all ain't my community. Go play that back to Tyrone. Y'all ain't my community. I'm a grown-ass man with an opinion. You, y'all community. How about that? Say something. Huh? What's your answer? Go play that back. I just said you and y'all's community. Y'all's community. Let me say it louder. The black community. Let me say it again. The black community. Wait. What's your answer? What's your answer to that? The black community. Play it. Go wait. You're not gonna answer it? I just said the black community. I just said the black community. What now? What now? Wait a minute. What now? I just said the black community. Shouldn't you be outraged and go? Wait a minute. Shouldn't you be outraged and go tell Tyrone I said the black community? Shouldn't y'all sit now and find a way to cut that up? Because he said the black community.
You heard it from his own lips. Is this who you're going to let preach to you about black women? Is this who you're going to take advice on about black issues? I want you to take a look at all the people who've been enabling him and telling you that he's still qualified to speak on black people and black issues. Take a look at the people who still keep covering for him, still keep calling him, and are actually treating him as if 2013 never happened. He believes he can cobble together enough useful idiots to make him into a mascot after he's been exposed and has zero credibility. We all wonder who are the people who keep the Eddie Longs and Creflo Dollars of America filthy rich. And now you can see them. I don't argue with those kinds of people, because someone who is so childlike and so easily led that they'll actually go to war to defend a fraud whose dishonesty is now public knowledge is beyond help. If the only way you can help yourself is by appealing to people too intellectually lazy to read, verify, or think critically for themselves, you know it's already game over. This isn't about his relationships. This isn't about what kind of woman he's with or what race of woman he's with. This is about the fact that we've gotten a glimpse into the twisted mind of a pathological liar whose entire life is one giant ongoing fiction. Now he wants everyone else to abandon their principles just because he's abandoned his. And rather than leave me and everyone else alone who no longer want to associate with him, he's instead following us around, hoping there are enough dumb people so desperate to join a cult of personality that they too will abandon whatever flimsy principles they might have left, and now allow Tommy and Lana to dictate to them what black means. How dense do you have to be? People that gullible aren't just annoying. People that gullible are dangerous.
Let me ask you something. Would Malcolm X, would Marcus Garvey, the fucking photo that you use, sit around and do that as a grown-ass man?
If you agree with Tommy Sotomayor that black people are a lost cause, then follow him and Lana. If you believe that the black community is finished and the only hope for the children of Africa is to look toward the children of Europe, then don't listen to me. Go with Tommy. If you really do believe that Africans in America have no future, and if you've truly given up on black people, then keep following Tommy Sotomayor. He gave up a long time ago. But I haven't, and I'm not going with you. Dr. John Henrik Clarke said it, and I still believe it. I do not believe that fate brought us this far to see us die here. History always remembers. It'll remember every liar and every two-faced phony. It'll remember the cowards who sold us out and only stood up for being black when it was convenient. And it'll remember those who stood up for black people when standing up for black wasn't easy and wasn't convenient. It'll remember those who thought of their people and not themselves. The only person who can speak on black people is the black man who is with black people. The only man who can speak on black women is the black man who is with a black woman. We don't have a lot of black role models out there, but we're not so short on black male leadership that we're going to start taking our cues from con men and hypocrites. Black people are definitely in a tough spot right now, but it's times like these that we find out who's on our side and who's going to run. So you can listen to Tommy.
Let me say it louder. Fuck the black community. Let me say it again. Fuck the black community.
Black men, run. Run. Do like I did.
Or you can listen to us. Let them go with their people, and we'll go with ours.